"21 years ago, our lives were changed for the better. Into our family, we welcomed a bald baby girl who had the biggest blue eyes one ever did see. Those eyes, and her mouth, were always wide open. She saw and heard everything and challenged us to be on our toes at all times, just so we could see what she might be getting into next. Her first sentence was, 'I do it myself,' and she always did just that. But at the end of the day, she was the best cuddler and the most loving child a mom could ever hope for, just like she still is today."
This determined toddler quickly grew into a little girl who had to try it all. She tried cheerleading, basketball, volleyball, soccer, choir, band, and instruments such as the piano and trumpet. She even directed the marching band her senior year. I had the privilege of being her softball coach for several years and also enjoyed every minute we spent walking her 4-H and FFA animals. She gave it all in all she did, and like she does now, she always made it a point to make a friend or be someone's friend along the way.
When my sister became a state officer and eventually state president, I wasn't surprised at all. After all, she is the bossiest person I know. No, just kidding. What I really mean is that she is an outstanding leader and role model in every way. Even though she is 3 years younger than me, my sister has pushed me to be a better person. She offers encouragement when I need it and reminders about social graces when she thinks I need it. We have shared so many memories, first as cat farmers and later in the barn with our sheep, hogs, and 4 eager cousins. I can honestly say that she has been one of my best friends for 21 years, and I look forward to growing that friendship in years to come. So now, Ohio, I'd like to introduce my friend,
the girl who does it all and is a friend to all,
that blue-eyed beauty who will do it herself while loving like no other,
your state president, Holly McClay.
Now, I don't know about you all, but this time of COVID-19 and social distancing has been a unique time for sure. While there have been many days where I've gotten pretty bored and distracted, it has also created time for more opportunities. More time for family, more time for exercise, and more time for TikTok. While I usually just watch TikTok videos, I've also tried my hand at a few. I didn't want to put the whole videos up here because I thought I might get TikTok famous, so I included some snapshots. I have tried Dancing Queen. My family did our rendition of the full McClay house, and I even tried the LOVE trend from a while back. All of these were lots of fun, but pretty difficult as well. Getting all of the moves just perfect, synced with the music, and not looking completely awkward was a bit of a challenge. And let me tell you, looking like love was difficult. Now, in this TikTok, the way that you look like love is you jump in the air and try to make your body spell out LOVE. However, the reality of looking like love in our lives is even more of a challenge. Oftentimes, we don't hesitate to try a TikTok challenge or a challenge of other sorts. But how many of us are up for the challenge of truly looking more like love? A few years ago, my best friend Leah and I went on a hike we will never forget. We decided to hit up some trails because it was a beautiful spring day pretty close to home. We had our signature look, messy bun in hair and chacos on feet, and we were on our way. Now, I'll give you a little bit of perspective. We are from Central Ohio, meaning friends from Northwest Ohio think we live in the mountains. Yet, friends from Southeast Ohio think we live in the flatlands. We are a nice in-between with some very average hiking hills. The day was going great, and we were a couple miles in. Leah and I were walking along until we heard a noise. We heard a rustling in the grasses ahead. We looked at each other, looked forward, and continued walking. So anyways, Leah, I was thinking maybe Dairy Queen after this. What do you think? And then we heard it again, but this time even closer. We looked at each other, looked forward, and continued on. I was giving myself the biggest hype talk in my head. Holly Renee McClay, you got this. You are a strong, independent woman. Also, you're in Knox County. It's not like it's a bear. Just don't be a wimp. We continued on until we locked eyes. Leah and I could see its brown, beady eyes staring back at us, and instantly we sprinted. We turned the other way, jumped over a log, swerved to miss a tree, and veered off to the right to catch our breath. Wow, Leah, that was a close one. I know, Holly, that was one of the scariest moments I've had in a while. Now, go ahead and let Jeff Probst know that we are ready for the next season of Survivor because Leah and I just outran and escaped from the scariest groundhog we have ever seen. Yes, a groundhog. And yes, my grandpa could not stop laughing when I told him about our tragic event. Now, in that moment with Leah, it seemed as if the only option was to run as fast as we could. However, I'm going to be honest, the choice to run is not usually that simple. Even for someone who enjoys going for runs, every single run I go on is a continuous mental battle. Holly, you sure you want to keep running? You're getting pretty tired. You know, you could stop now. The idea of a run always seems great. Fresh air, great exercise, lots of endorphins. However, the reality is much harder. The reality of running is a continuous choice for continuous action. What do I mean by that? We are continually deciding in our heads, yes, I want to keep going, and our actions must reflect that. When we think about these two very different ideas of run, it ultimately comes down to the part of speech that we are considering. When we consider a run as a noun, we are considering the act or the idea of running. Hey, you want to go for a run? However, when we consider run as a verb, we are considering the action in the movement of running. Hey, you need to run. In the same way, when we consider love, there are two options. Love as a noun, a thought, an idea, a deep affection, or love as a verb, a choice, an action. In order to serve a purpose, love must be a verb, a continuous choice for continuous action. Love as a verb. What does that look like? I know for me, it can be pretty simple for me to tell people about how much I love them and care about them, but those choices and actions following are a little more difficult. At times, loving as a verb will feel pretty simple, but at other times, it'll be one of the greatest challenges in our lives. How do we shift from this love to love as a verb? First, let's consider the choice in the action to love our best friend, our favorite teacher, or our closest family members. Next, let's consider the choice in the action to love all of our classmates, all of our coworkers, or all of our family members. Next, let's consider the choice in the action to love the person that we are the most jealous of, the person who makes fun of us the most, or the person who has caused us the most pain. What will these choices and actions look like in your life? How will you shift from love being a thought and an idea to a choice and an action? How will you define love as a verb? Once we define love as a verb, then our love is put into action. Now, I know what some of you are thinking at this point. Oh, great, we are talking about love. Arguably the most overused word in the entire English language. I love my Starbucks Ice Cloud Caramel Macchiato, extra shot of espresso, light ice please. Or, I love going to the gym, getting swole, big body, perfect cure for sad boy hours. Or my favorite, I love my mullet. Honestly, this is my greatest accomplishment. When we use this single word, we don't know exactly what love means. How do we actively love when love is such a broad term? In order to think about this, we are going to consider a math equation. Now hold up, I know we are all distance learning or practically homeschooling at this point, so I'll keep it pretty simple. First, let's consider love, this overused word that we don't even know what it means. In order to serve a purpose, love must be put into action. Now we are back to our original question of what even is love in action? In order to consider this, I thought of some examples in my life of people who show active love. The first group of people I thought of is my immediate family. My mom, dad, and brother show me endless encouragement. They are involved in our church and our community, and they even have jobs where they can help others as a physical therapist and teachers. They show active love. Next, my grandparents. Whether it's showing up and cheering me on at events, sending the kindest cards, or teaching me life lessons about raising sheep, being a practical shopper, baking the best chocolate chip cookies, or talking to anyone and everyone, they show active love. Next, my agricultural educator, Mrs. Deborah Burden. She gives the most real, practical, and loving advice. She sacrifices countless hours for her students. She shows active love. Finally, my close friend, Emma Dearth, is a beautiful example of this. She continually asks herself, how can I love others better? She remembers people's names and takes time to listen and try to understand them. Rather than trying to change the people she's around, she just tries to love them. She shows active love. In each of these examples, these people are doing the same thing. They are serving the people around them through their active love. Love plus action equals service. Now we're going to break this down a little bit more to discover even more about what this concept means. We are going to turn it into a subtraction problem. Hold tight, I know, getting crazy. Hang in there. Service minus love equals action. Meaning that when we are serving, but not actually doing it through love, we are simply just acting. This may look like raking the leaves just to get a few more community service hours for our resumes, helping at an event just because our ag teacher told us we should, or volunteering at church just so we can post about it on Facebook later. When we do these acts of service, but they are not through love, we are literally just acting. Similarly, service minus action equals love. And let's not forget that this love is the overused love that we don't even know what it means. When we are serving, but not taking action, we are just emptily loving. This may look like saying how much we love community service, saying, I'm always just a call away, or telling someone how much we love them. When we claim to have this love, but our actions don't back it up, this love is empty. Ultimately, love plus action equals service. In order to actively love those around us, we are serving them. Actively loving is a synonym for serving. Too often, we view actively loving or serving in a very narrow lens. Honestly, before digging into this topic myself, I didn't realize how broad it could be. When I thought of the word serving or service, I thought of raking leaves, volunteering at a food bank, or making crafts at a nursing home. While each of these are great examples of ways that we can serve those around us, this past year I have learned so much more about what actively loving and serving can look like every day through others' examples. One person in particular stands out in my mind. I was doing a chapter visit up in northern Ohio with the Clyde FFA chapter. Throughout the past couple of years, I had gotten to know some of their members, and of course, I remembered their advisor, Mr. Barrett Zimmerman, also known as Mr. Z or Z. You may also know him from the infamous Tribe 11 Rocks at FFA camp meals. The day was an absolute blast, and through the entire day, I felt like I got to know Mr. Zimmerman a little bit more. It wasn't through what he said about himself, but through what his students said about him. Each class period, they would share how they love ag because Z is funny, because Z is encouraging, and because Z teaches life skills. Each of these statements were validated by his actions throughout the entire day. At the end of the day, he had something to give me. During one of those class periods, he had stepped out into his shop and welded this kind gift for me. What meant even more was knowing the person with a big heart and immense talent who made this for me. Mr. Z didn't stop there. A couple weeks after our visit, I had been having a rough day. You know, one of those days where you just question how much of an impact you're actually making. Happens to all of us. When I got home, I noticed a big, full manila envelope with my name on it that had come in the mail. I opened it up and was filled with love as I saw cards and letters from all of the Clyde FFA members. As I began reading them, my eyes were then filled with tears of joy as I read the kind, encouraging, and thoughtful words that they had each written. Mr. Z actively loved, and he also encouraged all of his members to actively love as well. In order to capture a little bit more of who Mr. Zimmerman is, I asked his twin daughters, Olivia and Julia, to share more about who he is, some of his gifts and talents. Talented at making individuals feel respected and loved. Hard worker, knows something about everything. Great listener, great conversationalist, gifted mechanic, and always can make others laugh and smile. Similar to Mr. Zimmerman, we must use our unique gifts and talents to actively love and serve those around us. The gift he gave me is a perfect example. I can promise you that if you were to put me behind a welding machine, it would not be a good way to serve those around me. When we use our gifts and talents, that love will flow much more naturally and much stronger. What are some gifts and talents that you possess? What are some of your strengths? Do you enjoy doing behind-the-scenes work? Do you love talking to others? Maybe it's baking or doing farm work, or maybe you love writing or drawing. What comes naturally to you? Once you determine at least one of those gifts and talents, let's think about how that could be put into action. How could you take that gift or talent to love those around you? Who is someone in your life right now who you could show love to? What are some ways that you could show love every day through the gifts and talents that you have already been given? Emma Widmer, senior in the Gibsonburg FFA chapter, uses her talent of baking to show love and joy to people around her by baking treats and giving them to her friends, family, and those in need. Miss Erin Wallet, agricultural educator at Cardington High School, uses her gift of energy to create fun, dynamic, and engaging events for her FFA members. Mr. Tad Nicholson, Executive Director of Ohio Corn and Wheat, uses his gift of being relationship-driven to create friendships and connections with those that he works with. Each of these individuals are using their gifts and talents to actively love others. How can you use your unique gifts and talents to actively love and serve those around you every day? While making TikToks, looking like love was challenging. And the call to look like love in our everyday lives is even more difficult. However, now we have the steps to accept this challenge. Ohio FFA, let's not forget that in order to serve a purpose, love must be a verb. When our love is put into action, we are serving those around us. And in order to serve and actively love those around us, we must use our unique gifts and talents. Ohio FFA, let's start looking more like love.
Congratulations, Camry! You have been selected to serve on the 2020-2021 Cardington FFA Officer Team. You have been elected as this year's President!
Yeah.
Holly, to share your message is one thing, but to live it out is the true definition of leadership. Over the past year, you have shown us what it means to serve others through love. When members of our team were asked to describe your leadership in one word, intentional, compassionate, and genuine were just a few of the many responses received. Not to mention, you have brought us a fair share of laughter along the way. Whether it was your need to stop at just about any small-town coffee shop that we pass, your never-ending pranks, and of course my favorite, your daily 6 a.m. camp wake-up call to If Your Lips Are Moving, you have brought us a countless amount of joy. You have been a light for others to follow, and you leave people better than when you found them. Thank you for leading with purpose. Thank you for leading with passion, but most importantly, thank you for constantly reminding us that love truly does conquer all. Thank you once again to our 2019-2020 Ohio FFA State President, Holly McClay.